Okay, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Green Space Advisory Commission today, and we are being recorded for sunshine laws. Ginger, can you do a roll call?
Here, Coyne.
Here,
Here, Emily Portman. Not here, Jean Kleckner. Here. Liz James.
Liz,
Got Laura Jordan. Here. Jill Oakey. Here. Jerry Pinkner.
Here.
Hi, Jerry. Corin Purcell.
I'm here.
Emily Hickson Shepherd. Here. Yvonne Steinkrug.
here.
Sinan Alpalson.
Here.
Excellent. My job is done.
Job's just started.
I was gonna do that, but.
Okay, so the next item of business on the agenda is approval of September minutes. Someone wanna make a motion to approve, or were there any issues with the minutes for you to adjust?
Me.
I didn't look at them this time, to be honest.
Okay,
I usually do.
okay.
Oh, thank you, sure.
Was there an issue with the date on the minutes, or was that just?
That was a different
previous
previous
one
one that I got when I was.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second them.
All right, visitor comments, we have no visitors tonight. So that's quick. Old business. The Green R City recap is first thing on the list, and I'll let Ginger, why don't you recap? I have nothing but good things to say, so I just want to come from somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great we planted 7 trees.
Your group.
My crew, yeah, Gosha and her husband Josh and Yana was with us. Yeah, I mean, it was good. The only thing, like, the first house that we went to, Betsy Wacker's house, I guess that oak tree was selected for her spot. And she wasn't happy with that, so she actually went to Rolling Ridge and purchased a black gum tree. So we planted that tree for her. The oak tree was sent back, so it's somewhere at headquarters.
So, but Gosha was aware of that.
Yes,
Okay.
like they had chatted,
Oh, yeah.
yes. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience, and we were done by 11:20. So.
Yeah. Well, how would you say it? Things for our crew went, Corin and I and Steve were in that group.
I was happy, it went swiftly. We planted 6 trees. We didn't really have any trouble with any of the homeowners. Most of them were there and most of them were pretty enthusiastic. A couple of them were very enthusiastic, I would say. And yeah, nice little exercise. I think we were also done around that time.
I do have one question. We did plant some Ohio Buckeyes, like in between like the sidewalk and the street. And I just, it'll be fine, right?
I think what, you mean, what, in what way?
Well, like, cause they get really big, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just,
I think
wanna
that,
make sure they're gonna get enough.
yeah, well, I think watering should be fine if it's per our
Right, right, but I'm like, as they get bigger.
bigger, yeah. I
That was
think,
my only, like, I was like, I love those trees.
I think Andre has taken a look at all the trees at all the locations, so I would assume that he's thought about that.
And then you got my email about Selma.
Yes, yes. And you copied Sanan and Gosha.
Actually, I
on
just
that.
copied the Gosha.
Okay, you
So-
might want to forward that to Sanan as
Okay.
well. There was one resident on Selma near one of the sites, and I'm sure Gosha talked to you about it,
Yes.
yeah, so.
Yes,
They
what?
really want to talk to you.
Okay.
The neighbor really wants to talk to you, yes.
Going back to the Ohio Buckeye, is that something that we need to keep a closer eye on, maybe?
Oh, I'm
Is
not
it a red Buckeye?
Or,
Oh, I know Buckeye. Okay, that's those glabra.
I mean, the arborists know more than I do. I just know that they get.
Yeah, it's probably bigger than I would have selected, but, what do you think?
I think the biggest concern would be the Buckeyes on a sidewalk. If you put it between a curb and a sidewalk, you're creating an unintentional tripping hazard in the future. So, but.
We declined a Buckeye in our yard. My husband felt much more strong, I was going to roll with it, and trust the arborist, and it was Laura and her husband and Liz, planting the tree. Well, the other tree, the red one, perfect, but, we have 2 pin oaks in the corner of the yard. And his concern, and I don't disagree, was that on the tag, it said it would grow 50 feet and that it would be a lot of tree in a small area. And so I spoke with, Asha on the phone, this afternoon, and I apologize that we declined the tree, but it was gone by 7:45 this morning.
And she was out and about.
Yeah, and she said she thought, she was gonna speak to Yvonne, she thought there might be a red bud. Or service berry, and I said either of those would be fine. And the one that got planted is a red bud, and I thought 2 red buds would perhaps look happy together. So I think the problem is resolved, but
Okay.
I do wanna apologize that yes, a lot of green space,
Yeah.
we declined.
You're stewarding the trees, so we really appreciate it.
I think one thing to note differently that was done this year than previous years, we did site visits prior to getting the trees. This past year, trees were just ordered and we had to figure out where the trees were gonna go instead of making the selection prior. It like dialed into the specific needs of that individual site. So it just kind of sight unseen, order trees, put them where they need to go.
Yeah.
So just something to think about for the future.
Okay.
Have trees been historically declined?
I wouldn't say historically declined,
don't
but I
think
think
so.
there's a little more time put into like site selection and working with the resident to make sure that everybody was like on the same page prior to planting.
Yeah.
I think the first year, didn't residents get to kind of pick? And then the
We had a-
second year,
we had a list that they
Yeah.
took it from.
it was an Ohio Buckeye?
Yeah,
I
that's
just know
what the tag
Buckeye.
says.
I mean, I'd happily take her,
Okay,
Buckeye
so-
in my yard if it's.
Cause if red Buckeye would have been, we got a forestry leaf, that's what it would have been, a red Buckeye, which it's
Gosha told
maybe
me to
20
write
to
on-
30 feet.
She told me to write on the tag.
And that's Aeschylus Buckeye,
Okay,
so.
Well, can you go? can we
and I
go
just
back to
asked,
the
could I just put
original?
Buckeye in here, and she said no, Ohio Buckeye, and
And
that
of
was
course,
like,
we'll
okay.
get
Yeah.
and that's what.
Yeah.
No more
Okay.
common names.
So hopefully,
Yeah,
cause
If we
there,
end up left with anything, I can take it to
I
Larson.
mean, I asked if I could just write Buckeye on the
yeah,
tag,
the
and
red
she-
Buckeye is just sort of.
but she said Ohio Buckeye, that's what she specifically told me, so, okay.
The tag said it would grow 50 feet.
okay. What's up, Liz? Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
Okay, well, I just said if something's left that needs to get planted, I can just put it in Larson Woods. I actually have waters organized through November for the trees I just planted there, so I would have, somebody to take care of it for us.
Okay,
If it's sitting around, let me know.
I would
Alright.
happily take Jean's tree if it's still available.
And we would have planted it at either the park at either end of our block, but it was gone very probably this week.
well, we'll get, Yvonne will probably get it back and she and Public Works can figure out where it should go. Yes, Liz.
Did you hear about how there was a hole dug like over someone's sewer lateral on one of our?
Yes, yeah, I talked to, Gosha knew about that before we even started
Okay.
planting and
Okay.
talked to the homeowner. and
Okay, we
They
filled
just
it
left
back
it
in.
open so the homeowner could see that a repair had been made, and so you guys covering up is fine, cause they'd already seen it.
Perfect. I just want to make sure it was communicated.
Yeah, yeah, I wanna compliment Gosha on her communication just over the last, I guess it was like week and a half, kind of leading up to the event. called me a couple times and it was just really good to have that open line of communication.
Yeah.
So, I know that I'm so glad that she was on this. I hope that she can continue. I do think that there are some questions that, and she's not an arborist, so like, is the Ohio buckeye the right tree? Or maybe even,
Well, and I looked at the list, it does say Ohio buckeye, but it
Well-
doesn't mean that we should plant it between the sidewalk and the street.
right, so maybe if there could be a little more, I mean, we could, as arborists, we could even help with some of that, like what might be a good tree for this spot ahead of purchasing.
I really,
Didn't have that.
I loved working with her, like she was fantastic.
Yeah,
And to second that, she was very comforting to me on the phone. I was a least bit upset, but she said, I want you to know the arborist selected the tree for that site and explained the process. She was very knowledgeable and patient and explained it.
Very good to know.
So I'll give her a thumbs up.
Like, I wanna be on her team again next year.
yeah. I think part of the challenges early on this year where we weren't having communications with Andre. So it was really like, are all the steps happening that are gonna get us to a successful planting in the end, so.
And what I noticed is she brings a very good attitude to it.
She does. And she, for this project, she just wants to really get buy-in from the resident, because they're the ones that are gonna take care of the tree and that wants to have a positive relationship with them for future work, so. So overall, I think it went, planting day went pretty well. Got everything in. There were no issues. The resident who didn't get a tree last year because of, their site, yes, asphalt, got a tree this year, so that was exciting.
Yeah, everyone, all the residents that we met with were just thrilled with this
Yeah.
program.
It's very fun. Oh, and there was a resident at, which street was it? Garrett, Gerard. On Gerard, that there's some public rights of way
Oh, yeah.
islands out in front of his house. And he said he and his neighbors would love more trees planted and they'd be happy to steward them. So
Okay.
that might be an area to think of for fall planting. I think Gosha said you had some more trees around.
And so I'll just jump in that those are areas that the city mows.
Good.
And we're looking for ways of changing those into more of a native landscape, so maybe that could be reforested somehow, somewhere, I'm not sure about the site.
Well, maybe
The visibility
it
and
could be
all of that, but maybe we can collaborate on it.
Sure.
Sounds like there was significant buy-in from the neighbors. in the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
If they could
This
help,
got
because
rich.
otherwise we can't create it, because we can't take care of it, it's
Yeah.
gotta be a one and done for us.
Cool.
Well, I can get you the name of that
Sure.
resident.
He was really
Yeah.
He
enthusiastic,
was
really
super
nice.
happy.
Yeah.
Rich, it's all I remember. Okay. Any suggestions, anyone, for improving things for next year?
More trees, more people.
More trees, more people. We did have, we had the deadline till like May, I think, maybe even a little longer. We extended the deadline. So we Andre reviewed all the sites of applications we had. I think we had about 26 or 7 applications. And of that, the ones we planted were the ones that could be planted, that we felt comfortable planting in the right of way. So we just need to keep spreading the word about the program.
I will say, so Betsy Wacker, she got everybody in their little community in Hollywood, but she did say that like nobody was really happy with the trees that they got.
I was thinking you
So-
might wanna look into having contract growing done by either P Ridge, which they will actually grow a street tree and they will keep it sort of limbed up. Or they'll treat it differently than they would another tree just planted in a lawn. And you might wanna check Forest Healing.
Definitely consider forest healing. We're getting ready to get a bunch of trees from them through their, with the RPM growing method, and they're
So they-
designed to be street trees
What was
and
the
they're
first one? P?
P
P
Ridge.
Ridge will custom grow And Forest Keeling will custom grow too.
Yeah, and Forest Keeling's 10-gallon pot trees are like the equivalent to a 15-gallon pot tree, and they're about $89 a piece.
Yeah.
They're relatively inexpensive and really, really nice quality.
And Forest Relief is limited to what they grow at the Georgia White Nursery, where it's just these seedlings and then they pot them up. So these other growers are gonna have a lot more variety to pick from.
Well, if you were gonna contract grow with Forest Keeling, say, for example, they probably have enough stock right
They
now.
have, I toured the nursery, they have so many freaking trees,
I know.
like, they're flush with trees, always flush with trees, and they're extremely nice quality. And I'm not sure what the price compares to, like, say, a Forest Relief or a contract grow. I think they're almost comparable, but you have to get them from Forest Keeling. That's about 50-minute drive.
Yeah.
Or if you have a certain dollar amount, they'll deliver it.
Oh. So that would be something to know which one
Yeah,
potentially work.
I can give you some context,
Yeah.
of course, for both.
And depending on the number of applications.
But what I'm thinking about what Joe said about inspecting those locations earlier so that we can like order the trees under things are just perfect for the spot rather than getting them later and having to plant what we've got. And that question of the homeowner didn't like the tree or not, that's a question for the city. I mean, it's great to give a homeowner a tree they want, but it's a public right of way tree
Exactly,
after all,
right.
so the city should really be looking at their total inventory, seeing what types of trees are overplanted and don't plant any more of
Right.
those and see what the opportunities are, which more diversity do we need or what the site actually is.
I just want to see them be excited about it, though, so they
Yeah.
don't tell
Well, that's
everybody, so
how you get
everybody
the
else
buy-in,
wants.
people to water a tree. If you don't like the tree, you get stuck on you, you're
Yeah.
probably not gonna water it.
Yes. Liz, is that what you were gonna say?
Well, I just wanted to ask one question. So once everyone applies, what happens after that? Because this year and last year, I've had residents that I know text me and say, I don't know if I got picked. I don't know if I'm getting a tree. And then I think they are people not getting a tree. So is there some sort of communication that's like, hey, just so you know, we selected other sites, or what
Well,
happens?
So the application process is online and that list goes to, I think it went to Vera early in the year and she would give that information to Andre to go check sites. So when they had reviewed all the sites of folks who had applied, they sent me that list. And I responded to everyone on the list and said, you're gonna get a tree, come to the meeting. Or I said, sorry, the arborist says it's not a good idea to plant a tree there. So I
Okay.
did that for everyone this year. I didn't do that last year. So if you heard that last year, that might have been the case.
Okay, it sounds like people are probably just missing an
And
email.
some people, like, it's funny, the contact information is like they mistyped their email address and their phone number. So there's always like one-offs that I just can't get a hold of.
Totally. I'm just asking so I can say like, here's how we do it or whatever.
Yeah, from now on, we'll definitely do it that way. I don't wanna leave people hanging.
Well, it's a great initiative. Thanks for everybody going out and planting lots of trees. Another successful round. I know last year we did this, Bill met with Public Works like Thanksgiving time to start planning for the next round. So I know the logistics this past year have been tricky, spotty. You know, we've got staffing turnovers. There's like been unclear on what's the commission's role and versus what's staff's role. So I think that going into looking forward to the next year already, like knowing early on, like what's the plan, who's doing what group is doing what is everybody's roles would be really good for
Yeah,
another
that would be very
successful
helpful.
year. 'Cause I know that as successful as the program is, I know it's been frustrating for folks on the commission and probably for staff too, as we figure out like kind of how it's all gonna piece together and time was getting tight, so I think the idea of starting early again and getting those rules really solid is
Yeah.
helpful.
We need to get together, probably.
Yeah,
Also, you mentioned before, city doing some of that, taking the initiative to in terms of replanting efforts, not just the program.
Yeah. Well, and Gosha mentioned you guys did have some trees, so that's exciting. But you know, if there's locations where trees come down, you know, I was thinking it would be great to develop like a little flyer that you could give to those people so that they could learn about this program and learn about, you know, like get a link to sign up for the tree or something like that. So that's something that I would be happy to work on with Gosha.
Sure.
Kind of what that looks like, and
Right.
how to communicate with them.
Yeah, okay.
And one other question, I think, I don't know how I feel about it, but it looks like to me that the city's inventory
Just gonna bring that up.
is not active anymore. Like I can't go online now and see the tree inventory. And I know that has to be renewed. I don't know if it's annually or not through Davy. And maybe the city's stepping away from that and doing some sort of other asset management thing, but
Tree keeper.
yeah,
Let me check on that and get back to you
okay.
to make sure that we keep it at least a type of asset management system, whatever
Yeah.
it might be.
Right, cause I think that would be really, in the long run, I know there's a lot of transition and you got a lot to wrap your head around. But in the long run, it'd be nice to use that as a tool for a forester, maybe. But for someone to be evaluating the city's forest and using it as a management tool too, cause you can pull reports out of there, like pruning cycles, we're gonna do this
Right.
quarter of the
Do you
city.
think similar in your city?
No, we were actually looking to get a system that time, but the forester, we had a city forester, he had his own inventory that he kept for University City. Here, I know that we are in the process of getting an asset management system for everything else, you know, pavement markings and pavement and bridges and streetlights and all that, and we can always explore into another module of that
Yeah.
as for trees, because everything works off of the same GIS
Yeah.
database.
Is it a ESRI program, you know?
It will be, but we don't have the software, and so we will need to rely on the software provided for us to use for it. But we should be able to edit the information and change and modify, and when new trees are planted, that's entered into the system.
And trees are taken down, you kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
log and mark that, like
Right.
we can have a tree here.
Right.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Inventories are really, I use one at where I work, it's a really great tool.
Yes.
Liz,
Can I share one more idea? I saw at 2 of our sites that there were Bradford pears. And I just thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had like a little flyer that we could like leave about that buyback program for like, so we have people that we've engaged their interest, we've brought them a tree. They might take it seriously and be like, oh, let me get this replaced. Like we could probably just leave something behind when we left with that neighbor, you know, about continuing what we're trying to do in their own yard, you know.
yeah,
That could be a subcommittee project for us.
yes,
actually.
it could be. We actually were at a site where we planted a redbud and there was a pear out front and
I saw that too. I was thinking about the same thing, like, do I say something about it? I better not.
but I think a flyer list that says, hey, here's something to know about your pear tree and.
Yeah. Or like just here's another opportunity coming up. If you're interested in doing this work with us, like here's another thing you could do. We already know that we have a citizen that's trying, so it could be a good
Yeah.
initiative. Easy.
Good point. All right. Is there any other questions or suggestions for next?
I think a little, like, we have a tree now in our easement, a sign that says, this tree from the Green Our City Initiative planted, October 2024, if you wanna participate next year, go here.
Did you?
Isn't that on our QR?
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
there were
Oh,
maybe
was
3
that in
tags.
That's,
Oh, okay.
I think your husband,
Maybe he took a bag inside, I didn't look at it.
okay, well, he didn't get a bag, but if he took a tag inside, okay. Well, here, if you want
Yeah.
another one, if you misplaced it, so.
Thank you. Perfect.
I just wrote on them and put them on the tree myself, that way I'm for sure,
Yeah, I was trying to let the homeowner put it where they wanted to,
yeah,
cause they were so excited about it, so that's why I wasn't.
bring it.
Sorry to
I was bossy. Okay. Okay,
So I made just 2 copies of this, I'll give
oh,
this.
let's go, so you read your, no more comments about the Green Arc City recap, okay. So the next item of business is the old business, is the grant subcommittee update.
So
And
here's a
you-
copy for you, Emily, and I'll talk through this copy, then you can have it, Yvonne, and I can email it to anyone who wants it. So this is, Ginger, Emily, and myself. So, it's much more in-depth than what I showed last night. So we talk about our purpose here, and that it was, in July 2024, the annual work plan. So that's how we started doing this. And part 1 is 6 foundations or funders we found, and it tells you what page. So the document is 20 pages long, it's kind of long, but it's size 14 font. So I don't have to regret it in my sentence. So it tells you what page the funder is on, and then the part 2 is information gathering. And it tells what organizations we looked at, AmeriCorps, Missouri Department of Conservation, that we decided were not appropriate for these purposes. And then it tells other ones we looked at where we got job descriptions, and it tells you what page those are. So each foundation has its own page, so they're separate pages. And it has information about the foundation, what they typically give to, what their requirements are. So this one, Enterprise, you have to be an employee or married to an employee. So, and it sounds like they give a lot locally, a tremendous amount. So in red, I wrote, maybe we should do a little poll and see if anyone has a spouse that works at Enterprise, or if anyone has a neighbor. Cause all they have to do is bring it up. We could still write it, but so each one has information. We did not rate them about did we think this was better or not. So it has all the information for 6 funders that fund heavily in St. Louis. And they all have an interest, like Bear's interest is in health and wellness. So their interests are all related. Then, let's see, part 2, we have 2 different job descriptions from the Kirkwood Ward Volunteer Coordinator. Then we have 2 different job descriptions from Forest Relief. And then we went to U City in Bloom. And they didn't have a job description, but a lot of information. U City in Bloom, a lot of information. What I gathered is they have a very large board, correct me if I'm wrong, 25 people, and everyone on the board has a job. Like the woman I spoke to is the assistant board member whose additional job is assisting the volunteer coordinator. The volunteer coordinator was out of town at that time. And when I called them, I found their phone number on Facebook, And a woman answered the phone, you know, just hello, and I said, is this your City of Bloom? And she was like, oh, yes. Well, it was her personal number, she's a board member, and her job is to field calls. So it's an interesting approach, and they have, their sign up page really shows you can sign up what day of the week, what you wanna do. And they're very active and they have fundraising events. And then the very final part, as far as park purchase, and didn't get that information in time. So,
Could you send it to everyone and then they can review and we talk about it the next week?
so send it to everyone.
I think so.
I think, and
Do
the
you want a
reason,
hard copy as well?
No, if you just send it to me, that'd be great.
I think the reason, you guys kind of revised this was so that it was presentable, so that, because last time we did talk about it, I think you wanted a summary.
Well, it was
Summary
early,
to
it's
type.
been early stages,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still early
It's
stages,
still,
yeah,
but,
this is great.
yeah,
And then maybe Emily, you could tell us what your council would want anybody to pursue.
Yeah,
or just
or-
try to follow.
Kind of, you know, out of this information, what would you like, what are we recommending that we think we wanna?
Yeah, so this is like now volley to city council.
Well, I would say, volley it to the, like,
To the
Yvonne said,
group.
like, send out this out so that the Green Space Commission can read through it. And think about, as a commission, what would you want the next step to be?
Making a recommendation.
Make a recommendation, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Houston Bloom,
Yes.
every year they prepared a proposal to the city and the city funded Houston Bloom. So in a way, one of their sources of revenue was the city. I remember, I didn't necessarily review those proposals, but because we were discussing budget, this would come up and they would have and in recent years, it was an increasing number, that bottom line. And at some point, actually Jesse Gilbert is there. He was the manager there and he even had an office across from the city hall, the opposite corner, they had an office there. But he was a working manager, so he was in the field and he was sometimes even coordinating volunteers and so that, I'm sure they had other sources of revenue, but one of them was the city's budget.
What do you think, that sounds like one piece, but what do you think makes that such a successful project? I mean, everything I hear from volunteers, I love it, it seems very well organized. Why has that been so successful for so long, do you know? I mean, part of it is they have a good working relationship with the city,
Yes.
obviously.
Right.
I mean, the city relies on them, right, to do a lot of
Yes.
those. It's kind of like, the Flora Conservancy in Forest Park. They have special projects throughout the park that they maintain and they have a working relationship with the city. So I see that very similar,
Yeah,
and part of me wonders,
It could be its longevity. It was founded in 85 by 3 visionary citizens who planted several hundred spring bulbs along a city road. And then it grew to a volunteer organization, a 501c3. And I forget, she told me, it might be on here someplace, they have a ton of volunteers. They come out weekly, like 150, my goodness.
very
Well-
successful in that sense, I agree. Yeah, what's the secret?
well,
We can actually really one day maybe even invite Jesse to come and speak. to us
oh,
about
that's a
it or something.
great idea.
He's very well connected also, I know that.
Well, and we were well on our way to that with Greenkeepers. The problem is we changed who we sign up with. So we went from Deer Creek Watershed Alliance sign up, which was really easy, to the rec center, and people don't wanna give the information that they're giving to sign up, even though it's easier for us to collect that data and say we have this activity, we have this many participants, cause it's easy for the city to do that. But no one wants to sign up for it, and that's been the big disconnect, cause I have over 200 volunteers. And we've had up to 30 plus events a year in the last 8 years, so we have the bones for it.
But I think what's great about Youth City and Bloom is that they are their own nonprofit. Right? They are.
And they have a big board and the board's very active, large number of volunteers that are very active. And
I mean, that's, and if they're thinking big picture right now, like dreamy. If there was a Webster Groves Greenkeepers 501c3, that would be a way that people could volunteer with the city and do things actively. And, you know, not just serve on a board, like if they have more gusto and this is the way I know how to be active. Now it's the boards and commissions, but that's just like getting in there, which is exciting.
And as we talk about volunteer stuff, I know one thing that came out after those, after the bad flooding we had in July, was there were a lot of people in the community who wanted to help their neighbors, but there wasn't a mechanism for them to know like, what people need, how do I volunteer that time? So as we're building a volunteer thing, maybe we think like, is it strictly for green stuff
Yeah,
or
and
is
that's-
it for?
That was the whole reason why we moved it to Webster, because I envisioned that all kinds of departments could use a volunteer board. And so, you know, if we get all this put together, that we could have it be a separate entity and then.
Volunteers for art events and like,
Yeah.
lots of things.
But the U City and Bloom is all about landscaping, right? I mean, that's about
I would
beautification of the
assume
city
from the name,
streets,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Do they have any other relationships with other groups who support the city in volunteering for art shows or?
well, they have 3 fundraisers. And they have a garden tour fundraiser and a plein air art event. And a bicycle event.
Like, yes, I know.
They do.
So they do free activities for raising funds
But that all goes to U City and Bloom.
and a spring plant sale. And they help organize the annual U City Memorial Day run.
Oh, so they're not just, that's what I'd like to know, is like, what else
It
do they
says they're in
do?
partnership with the public schools,
Library.
Library.
businesses in the loop, arts.
Yes, it's Jesse Gilbertson, right?
Jesse Gilbert.
Yeah,
I think it'd be ideal. But
yeah,
I think everyone should just review and then come up with our recommendation.
and I think maybe talking to Jesse would be good.
Certainly, and I wasn't hiding it, I just finished it this afternoon.
Judy Prangy is there. She was the board chair, I think. So, and Jesse worked for him. But he volunteered many years and then he got that position. And then his position was actually not funded at some point and he went back, volunteered again. But he was always, seemed to always be around, whether paid or volunteer.
That's a great person to have on your side, right?
Yes.
So is he still in that position in some capacity, whatever it is?
So last 2 years or so, I haven't been in close touch, but he might still.
Okay. Okay. Great, thank you guys.
Yeah,
A
good
lot
work.
of food for thought and a hopeful topic. Any questions for this subcommittee? Can we go on to the next?
The enterprise thing, I do have a friend, I actually have a couple of friends who work there, so I could ask them.
I like residents of Webster.
They wouldn't have to do the work. Just be the spokesperson. Well, that would be a little work.
Yeah, I'll ask them, maybe I'll wait until we review it and
Yeah.
then if we decide that's something we wanna do, I can reach out to them.
Yeah, I would like to see like how it works, cause usually when an organization submits a grant, it's from the organization. So I know how it works, like the spouse employee.
It's a curious approach. We have grants to give away, but only to people who work. Only to the people who work here is interest.
We had a spot on the greens, I could, it could be like, hey.
That's
join
not
the-
bad.
Join the group PTW.
Yeah. All right, then we'll move on to the next item of old business, which is the trees of distinction stuff. Any words you wanna share there or news? We have 3 candidates so
Nice.
far.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I think you got my email, I don't know if you sent it on to your,
About the email address?
about mentioning, a mention in the Friday. page.
Oh, yeah, I had sent one before for her to do that. I can,
Oh, okay.
maybe she can do it again, but I'm pretty sure she did put it in a while back, but.
I think you were thinking about maybe doing it repeatedly.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll send it again.
and I think we were gonna add, that's what it was, your email.
Yeah, for some reason, when you sign up, you have to put in your email, and then when the form comes to me, the email is missing. But
Right,
I've checked with the rec center and they're like, I don't know what happens.
right,
So-
what I just wanted on the Friday page was, in case they have a question or something, they could, that they could email, they have an email to send it, their question to if they have trouble finding it on the website.
Okay,
Cause I just searched it and I found it, but it's a little, I don't know. I feel like some people might have trouble finding that form on the website.
okay.
Yeah. And then was there something you also had mentioned, I think in that email, to maybe could we get Emily or somebody to mention that in their. Yeah, I don't know if I did mention it, I would say that in that email, but, and I know you weren't really you don't think you're gonna have a little spot?
I don't know when I
for
will
that?
have a spot next, but I will ask that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cause I guess we're saying, well, the closing date in the activity guide says December 31st to submit your nomination, so. If you don't have a time before then,
what was the date again?
December 31st
Oh, okay.
is our submission deadline. But I don't think many people will be doing much in the month of December as for this, as
Yeah.
far as like
Yeah, I was wondering
emailing
if
about.
they're trying to take the pictures.
Right, well,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Trees will start turning soon,
Think
that's,
about it, yeah.
I need to remember to get out and take pictures of the trees when they're turning.
And Laura's got a little blurb, I mean, she can
Okay,
send it to Emily. If she's got
I
the
think I did it.
opportunity.
last year.
Yeah, the blurb in the activity guide is great, I just was hoping Yvonne's email could be on there, so if someone had a question, I think it was, yeah. To be, when it goes in the Friday page or in the paper. Would you wanna have any flyers at the library or anything like that? I don't know if we have anything typed up. No, we could do, I have a contact for the Webster Groves Garden Club. Could send it to them just to help, they're always have their own little network of things, you can send it to them. Okay. And I don't, have you posted that on Facebook?
About trees of distinction?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Maybe,
Well, maybe not since last year.
maybe you on Facebook tag teamers could do that.
I could do a thing.
You wanna send, like, copy them all on the board?
Thank you.
Sure.
Like Liz and Corin, so and Ginger.
But yeah, Liz,
I guess
Liz.
I tried.
She could do that.
I tried, I like.
Yeah, you could copy.
We
that.
Corin, are you-
Well, and
I
then
did so much with Parents
do you
Club.
want? She could just copy you on that as well, so you've got it if you,
Yeah, I'm sure we can get it in at some point.
okay, and just make sure you include her email on, yeah, okay. And if you wanna. I think, fine, okay, you want me to look at it for a second, I can, I really
Corin,
just.
Are you gonna post that?
I think I had a PDF of what was on the, or a
Yeah.
picture or something of what was on in the activity brochure and then just asked to add Yvonne's email, I think, or something. Yeah, it added something else, but I can't, but it was something very, I didn't change anything. So just added a couple comments.
All right.
Is it recognized on the graph?
The homeowner gets, it's not recognized on the, like a plaque on the ground. Last year we did a little differently,
We
right?
have a plaque on a stake that has a QR code that they can go to it and learn about the tree.
That's what we did last year, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
before that, I think they.
so then when you go on the website, you'll be able to see that's a tree of distinction, that's what kind of tree it is, how old it is, what size it is.
They are celebrated at the Arbor Day. Okay. Then we're on to new business. Boards and Commission handbook. I sent that out again today and Emily said she could print us copies if anybody needs copies. I kind of figured we were paperless people, but.
See a typo online.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody needs.
Okay, so it's
You can
packed.
send it to me if it bothers you.
It just it's first, at least the first Monday, the first.
Does anybody want a paper copy?
I don't. Okay, so it's got a lot of information in it. And this is the first handbook that has been put together sort of officially. There's been a lot of this information covered. Last year when we met with Dr. Peoples and the mayor, you know, we kind of went through all this information that's in the handbook, and one of the suggestions that came out of that meeting was get it in a document we can share with everybody, and that when you become a new member, that is your introduction sort of. So it's really great that it's all documented. Did anybody have any, there's a couple things I want to talk about, but did anybody have any questions that came out of the document? No, okay. Things that I would like to talk about are, I kind of have a question for you, Emily. The roles and responsibilities for the board and commission leadership. I wonder if we need to add something in there about the fiscal year, like the plan.
Oh, like who does the work plan and like
Yeah,
that?
because that's not really mentioned as a responsibility of anyone. But it, you know, that fell on the chair's
Sure.
plate, so that, and unless that language in here is meant to capture that, but I didn't read it that way.
Okay.
So that would be, I guess, a suggestion that I have, because that's a piece of work that the chair needs to do, so I think that would be good. Otherwise, I think that's all pretty clear, and then they've got attached to it all of the forms that you might need to use as the chair to submit for requesting funds or time with the council or projects or things like that. So it's a great resource. One thing that I read in here that we haven't ever done before, as long as I've been on the commission, is have elections for the chair position. And it calls to have an election every year. And it's coincidental that I just read this language because I've been thinking about transitioning out of the chair position. Just because I've been doing this for quite a while now. I think I came on in 2019, and it was shortly after that I volunteered to be the chair. And I feel like it's time to, we've got so many great members on the board and we're doing so many great things and we have the plan. So I think that the city with the planning process has kind of set us up for success to just keep rolling with this plan. So I'm gonna suggest that we have a election for a new chair in November. And then that chair would start in January. And there's not a lot of specification in here about that transition. Like when the term should start or end, so I think that's kind of up to us. And I was thinking perhaps that the current chair could then turn into the vice chair, because that is a requirement in here as well. And then the vice chair could support the chair in their new role, and I would be willing to do that. And there's still, you know, things in the subcommittees I want to be involved. So, personally, thinking about it from my perspective, but what do you guys think about that approach?
Sounds okay.
It's very fair. Okay.
So
Done a great
maybe
job.
in preparation for the election, we should ask who wants it.
We could ask that. And the other thing I think we also need to talk about is just members transitioning off, because we heard from Emily Horton that she's not gonna be reapplying, even though she's eligible because she had some family personal issues.
Husband's having a crisis.
Yes, Glenn, who was actually on the commission for a while. And
Good dude, he's a good dude.
Joe
I have not reapplied.
is not reapplying. So we have a couple of open seats as well. So that might put things in a different perspective. So I think that's a good question, Jeannie. Now, does anybody
Or
immediately
should we,
write?
like nominate each other?
Or should we do that at the next meeting and give people a time to
Think it over.
process? Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
it's liaison, but
yeah, that's a good suggestion. And maybe, yeah, and if you wanna, that's a really good suggestion, because if you guys wanna call me and talk about like what it entails and what the relationship is like between these two folks and this three folks, I can give you some more information about that. Yeah, is there any questions about?
Joe, when are you leaving?
This is my last meeting.
Whoa.
And
My term's up October 19th,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Emily is not coming back either, so I think maybe we should have a. It's a little here. A little,
Yeah.
yeah. You and Emily.
Since that's not an official meeting,
Yes,
we could
let's
plan
wait.
that offline.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
and if you have friends, neighbors that might be interested in being on the commission, it's a great time to recruit, so.
Yeah. Did you let Katie know yet that you were
No,
not?
not yet.
Okay, so as soon as you do that, she will post it, advertise it.
Liz, did you want to say something? I thought I saw you.
No, I just looked at Emily and said I already texted Ann.
Nice.
Gonna be at Oak Street heavy now.
She'd be a good choice.
In your,
You mean an
We had
actor.
somebody else we were talking about.
Good night.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, she would be good.
She just started a new book.
Yeah,
I already hit her up.
Did you already?
Knowing that this was coming this way, I let her know, so.
All right.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Someone had said that Nicole Miller Strutman was
Yeah.
interested. I said something to her, not in passing, I saw her, but before that, maybe I'll just mention it again. It's her Sutter Beat project is winding down, so.
let's recruit.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, then the last thing on the new business is this Safe Streets for All. There is a commission, well, the city was granted more about this than I do, but funds to improve, it's like a federal grant, I think, to improve some of our streets and roads. There's projects that have already been lined out, but the city, Dr. Peoples has asked the chair of all the commissions to be part of that sort of subcommission. And I have a conflict with the time of day, that's a monthly meeting, I think. And I was supposed to bring that, do you know when that date?
Task force meeting,
Yeah,
October, it's a Thursday, October.
I think it's at noon or something like that.
24.
The 24th?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, it's a noon meeting.
Yeah, I think so too. So she said I was welcome to ask anybody who wanted to attend those meetings, be part of that conversation, but if we didn't have the bandwidth to do that, Sanat will be giving us updates when he's coming. So I think they just want as much of the engagement as we can get.
Where are the meetings started? Did you say where the meetings
City,
are?
City Hall.
I mean, I actually do get off like work at noon if I'm not doing lunch, so technically I can't commit to anything else.
So don't.
Thank you.
Okay, I think a lot of us are just working at that time, which is why it's a conflict. So we will look forward to, I think, reports from you, Sanan, about.
Overall, there are already people hired for the positions under the grant. And so they are at their position, at their posts now as of the 30th of last month. Our grant project manager is also working for the city now. And so they're in contact with the grantor to make sure that we're meeting the timelines, the budget. One of their grantor meetings is coming up, so they're getting ready for that later this month. We're gonna likely ask for a budget amendment, so because some of the numbers are kind of old, so we need to update those dollar amounts, as well as some of the timelines in terms of getting the various project components into, I call it implementation, it's not right. It's a demonstration project, so it's everything that we do is temporary on the roads. And but it's like a 3-year project, so some of the things will not even happen until much later because we need to, it needs to all be on the ground at the same time and observed for a month after that, and traffic before and after needs to be documented, and then we need to look at what improvements it gives us. There are 6 components to the project, various things like speed variable speed limit, signage, traffic signals coordinated together and changing throughout the day, like different adjustments and stuff like that. Some of it is automatic now with the technology. Pedestrian crosswalks illuminated better, speed humps. So, and a multi-use path between Lockwood and Kirkham on Elm. And so those types of things will be in the works.
Oh,
And so to begin with, they'll be sort of temporary projects,
Yes,
and then you observe
right,
and see which ones might be the best.
right. And then apply for an implementation project to get more funding to make it permanent at that time.
So that's the kind of thing you're interested in. You are welcome to attend, just let me know, I can connect you with Dr. Hughes. Okay. All right, council liaison update.
yeah. So
Thank you.
I wanted to, Carrie and I talked yesterday, and I talked to Mayor Arnold today a little bit too, so I just wanted to, with the changes, you know, and leadership and commission members, I wanted to suggest a couple of things. For one, like, this is a fantastic commission, let me just say that, like, you guys do great work, you're active, the Green Our City thing has been a huge success. Like, it's a very active commission. I know that there has been, in the past with commissions in general in the city, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And now with our commissions in general in the city, there's a lot going on. And that's, we've talked about this before, that puts pressure on staff, which the staffing levels haven't really changed, and so managing that. And I'm worried that we're gonna feel as a commission that now we can't do anything, and the commission's gonna swing back, and people are gonna feel like we're only doing policy stuff, when in talking with the mayor, we're in agreement, like, that's not where we wanna be. So figuring out what that right balance is, and you guys have a work plan that you presented last May, which was approved by council, and so with these kind of staffing changes, the recommendation would be that maybe the old and the new meet together and go over that work plan for now and figure out like where are we in the year and with those projects, and what do we.
When you say the old and the new, you mean?
Like you two
Uh-huh,
and whoever the new chair is, and whoever comes on, if you're willing, because you have a lot of knowledge, institutional knowledge. If you're not, it's okay, it's cool. But we would love to have like a transition of that and kind of, what's working, what's not. And what does the commission wanna do kind of for the rest of the fiscal year? Because in January, I guess the idea is that boards and commissions would start working on the plan that they're gonna present in May for the next fiscal year, so it kind of seems like a good time later in the calendar year to kind of like look at the work plan that we've already got and where are we and what do we keep and what do we put, so kind of like a handoff with that. And then once like commission has met, you can bring Yvonne and Sanan and I can see where, we can check in together and see, okay, these are the projects, and how does that work with staff time? How does that work with council priorities? Working off the work plan that's already approved, so not like new stuff, but just like prioritizing for the rest of the year, how does that work so that we're all kind of alignment with resources, because we definitely want the commission to stay busy. Not busy, but engaged and active, not just busy work, you know what I mean? So that was kind of the thought, is like maybe it's a good time to just check in on that work plan, which I know you already are up to speed on, but for the commission at large, to kind of start working on that, and that'll also kind of set you up for January when you start talking about the next work plan for the next year and the next budget. And so that was my brief recommendation with the changing of the guard on how to kind of maybe help that in a little bit. And the idea being that work plan is not just going to be only looking at ordinances and recommendations on language and things like that, but also your projects that you have, like in greener cities and pollinator gardens and all of those types of things too, and finding a way that can keep the commission active in a way that also works with staff time.
that is a big.
And I'm not saying that what has been happening hasn't been working with staff time, just in general as a city, that has been a conversation that's been happening in general, is staff time and board and commission activity, and wanting our boards and commissions to be active, because we don't wanna go back to where it was just a monthly meeting and nothing happened in between. Like, we like them being active, that's great. We just, now we are like, how do we do that with the staffing that we have?
Mhm.
So that's sound like I'm in line with what you want me to.
All right. Thank you.
I don't think I have any.
I'm good. You're good. You've said enough already.
Yes. Rich used to tell me that, you said enough.
That's good. Then, do you have anything you'd like besides, thank you for sharing the information about this?
SS4A is probably the most exciting development in the public works area. And we will, based on its approval, we will be adding a staff person, hopefully, depending on how the market is, who's gonna apply for it and all that, as a project manager, soon, that's our plan. So that would be a great time when we can have somebody, so they can manage more work for the departments and implement more projects from the capital improvement program and such, so that's our plan. I want to correct the information that I shared. The task force meeting actually is at 9:30 a.m.
Oh.
Yes,
So I
so
couldn't make it.
I do have a vested interest in the eliminated crosswalks and stuff since my kiddo was hit by a car on his way to school. He's fine. This is like when he was in 8th grade, Scriven. He's in college now, he's fine. But so I do like, it's a very important thing to me, but yeah, I did. I want to ask, Make a Difference Day.
Yeah.
On the 26th. I will have a lot of scouts. I don't know if they're gonna be with me, Trash Bash, or if they're gonna choose one of the other 4. But I just need to sign up, right? And
Yes,
just
if
put,
you go
whatever
to the
they're
rec
gonna be.
center, yeah, and so I don't know how they really have it set up if only one person at a time can sign up, so if that's the case, why don't you sign up and then just email me how many people you're
Okay,
gonna
cause
have.
it's like only showing like the members of my household when I
Yeah,
like go, and I was like,
just give me a head
Okay.
count so I can have gloves and shirts and everything.
they're having a meeting tonight. I think they're gonna like try to decide which
Okay.
one they're gonna do, so that's what I was taking.
Okay,
Is the Larson Park Planning Garden a project on there?
it's not on there because you said you were just gonna do that.
Well, I talked about it at the Eco Ed talk, so now I feel like
Okay, I'll
we
put it on there.
oh, I didn't
I
mention
think there's
that.
still time.
We had a really good turnout at the last Eco Ed talk on October 3rd. First, the watershed one.
40 people.
Yeah, it was a lot of people learning about the watershed, so it's very exciting. Yeah. David Wilson did a good job kind of explaining to people who might not understand watersheds and the way everything contributes to those, so it was a good turnout, so thanks for that, and I assume that sustainability is gonna be working on, lining that out again for next year.
I have a question about the garden I said I would weed, that you call the concrete garden. So I went there was barely anything to do. I had my 2 buckets and they were both a little less than half full.
Okay.
But is it only on the right-hand side when you're turning into the parking lot? Cause I saw plants over there by the dentist
Yeah,
office.
if you could do those too, but
Okay,
it's,
I can go
yeah,
back.
that'd be great.
And is this like what I will do now, or is that a one-time thing?
If someone could adopt it, that would be wonderful.
So I can take, so it's both sides of the entryway,
Is that city right of way too?
Yeah.
but not the big pot,
No, we
because
take
there's
care
kind of
of
a pot nearby,
yeah, a container,
a
Yeah.
container.
we take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be
so
great.
I can, do that.
Okay.
I missed my time. I need to, I'll reach out to you
Okay.
when I am available.
Your spare time. Okay,
All right, next meeting is November 4th at 5 p.m. right back here. Hopefully we'll have the audio figured out. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jerry.
Good time,
Hey.
guys.
Joe,